While parked on a
Welcome
lonely
to
country road on
40
March
Years
3rd,
Under the Glow,
1946,
Drive-In Edition.
Samuel Fuller, age 24, and Linda Mae Jenkins, 19, were attacked by a man wearing a white hood over his head. They were dragged from their car and beaten, but both survived. Then on March 24th, 1946, he struck again. This time his victims were found dead. Only 21 days later, April 14th, 1946, he killed Roy Allen, 17, and Peggy Loomis, only 15, in a city park. Yet he was to strike again and again. He was called the Phantom Killer. Now, 30 years later, most believe he still walks the streets of Texarkana, Arkansas. Charles B. Pierce brings to the giant screen one of the most incredible true stories ever filmed, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, starring Academy Award winner Ben Johnson from American International Pictures. The Town That Dreaded Sundown, rated R.
Hello, welcome to 40 Years Under the Glow. Well, all of my life I have really been around drive-ins. As a matter of fact, my first memory as a child is of my parents taking me to a drive-in double feature of Beast of the Yellow Night and Creature with the Blue Hand. They had backed up the truck in there, and I was in the back on the mattress, and they wanted me to go to sleep before the scary stuff got on. But I was watching it because I can remember somebody in a luchador mask coming out of the jungle, and I thought, whoa, this is way too scary for me. So I fell asleep, and then I woke up at the end of Creature with the Blue Hand, where the killer was taking off his costume and his claw hit the ground. Then it showed blood flooding the screen, and I was like, whoa, this is scary stuff. And from then on, the La Follette Drive-In was my place to be. That was the only theater in town unless you drove like 2 hours to get to Knoxville. But that's how it was back then. But we did go over to Knoxville to the Twin Air Drive-In, another drive-in that played a big part of my drive-in experience as a kid. I was born in 1970, just long enough to see the death of the drive-ins. The last great years of the drive-ins, 1970 to 79, and the death years, 80 to 85, when they really phased out the drive-in flicks and VHS took over and just basically buried the whole drive-in experience. I love drive-ins just because of the whole community thing. You would go out in your car, you don't have to dress up, you can bring a chest of whatever you want. Most people brought booze or hid people in the trunk so that they could get away with everybody pooling to pay one ticket and everyone else hiding. Ha ha ha. My aunt used to do that as a kid, but I never did. And at the end, from 80 to 85, most of the drive-ins were like $5 a carload, so there was no use to hide people in the trunk. But there still are a few around today, which are basically owned by major corporations and only show that. 90% of them I've seen show Disney movies or Paramount movies, so we know who owns the drive-ins. So tonight is my love note to them, talking about the best films and my favorite experiences at the drive-in, with radio ads and other silliness expounding along the way. The first film we're going to talk about tonight is real, and it goes with the first radio ad which I'm about to play. Well, yeah, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. That was a really big hit in the southern regional area, and it was based on a real killer that killed in Texarkana, Arkansas in 1939-1940. He killed for a short period, then he vanished. They never did catch him, but there was a guy who they thought was the killer, but they chased down and died in a car crash about the same time the killing stopped. It never has been proved he was or was not. But it is a great movie, and Warner Brothers still refuses to release it on DVD. So basically, if you want to get it, you're going to have to get a bootleg. And now to move on a little bit. Drive-ins were a place where, when car culture was at its biggest, they were the place to be. I mean, they would, at their heights in the 50s and 60s, they would do everything. They would check the air on your tire. They would have people who would go buy your groceries for you. To have a playland for your kids. And most of them were equipped with not just plain snack bars like we got today, but places where you could just go and get an entire dinner from family. Offering everything to hot dogs, hamburgers, barbecue, pizzas, just everything that you could want for dinner. They wanted to make sure that Pop could just come home from his job, boom, drop down, get in the car, and then take the whole family out to the drive-in without them getting dressed up or anything, and just enjoy a family night out. As the 60s and 70s took coming in, the 60s, the teenage kids took over. And then you would see stuff like the AIP movies, the beach movies, and teenage things, and that crowd basically stayed. But you also always had the people on the dates. If you was going, there was always 3 sections of drive-in: the front, the middle, and the back. The front, if you was there to actually just watch the movie and didn't want to be bothered by everybody. Or you was a serious drinker and you just wanted to get you drunk on without being bothered or anybody trying to bum beer from you. The middle was where the snack bar was, so if you was a social weasel, that's where you would park. So you could go there and meet everybody and just have everything there for you. Like, hey, how you doing, man? That's where everything would happen. All the meeting, the flirting, the fights. Yes, I've seen a couple of fights in my day. And just everything else. In the back is where you would go if you was into serious dating and you did not want to be left alone, or you was driving a big car like a van that people couldn't see behind. But mostly it was just for the fooling around. So it was big until the mid-'80s when cars and the VHS killed it. And it was a great place. I mean, it was fun. The kind of fun that's missing from going to the movies nowadays. So, on that note, let's go to our second radio ad of the night. And I hope you enjoy it.
The big double horror show of the year is the most gruesome double feature ever filmed. Every horror film you've ever seen, every tortured body, severed limb, hideous creature has been preparing you for this moment, this one experience. I eat your skin. I drink your blood. Cinemation Industries presents I Eat Your Skin. I Drink Your Blood. A total experience in terror. When the bloodbath begins, listen. It may be the only chance you'll ever have to hear your heart stop. I eat your skin. I drink your blood. The titles are all you need to know.
And that brings us into our second film, which is I Drink Your Blood. This was a film in the 70s. David Durston was hired by a couple people who had seen the extreme success of Night of the Living Dead and wanted him to make a movie just like it. So he decided, since all of David Durston's horror films were more into the venereal area, he did a VD movie called Stigma and a couple more. But he decided to make a movie about rabies and add the Manson family, which was hitting in the news at the time, and made one of the most wildest gore epics of all time, the first film to ever get a rated X for gore in the United States. It's a very fun film about a group of hippies that crash into this town that's basically deserted because they're building a dam and all that, and they rape this boy's sister. So this genius decides, well, I'm just going to go and put some rabies in a pie and kill him, not knowing that it will turn them into homicidal, crazy butt zombies that want to kill everything in sight. But hey, let's not think up a good idea. So after that, one of the girls gets away, and she's found by a bunch of rednecks who are building a dam, and they end up and decide to go play rape. So after that, all of them rape her, and then they get rabies from that, and then we end up with 20 minutes of rabid zombie food, with zombie just going left and right, and it ends with on a depressing note. Very fun, but one of the hardest of the hardcore, shocking films of that era, and until the DVD about 3 or 4 years ago, it was kind of hard to see it uncut. And it's very good, and if you are into that kind of movie, I would definitely recommend it. Now, the two drive-ins when I was a kid that I loved the most was the La Follette Drive-In. They got a church built there now, but I consider that sort of a blasphemy against the drive-in code, but let's not get into that. And the Twin Air, which was bulldozed and properly turned into a strip mall like 90% of all the other drive-ins were. The Twin Air was a two-screener. Usually on one screen that had the drive-in movies, and the other screen that had the porn. One of my first memories when I was two, my dad and my mom wanted to watch the adult films, so me and my sister ended up watching Gator and White Lightning over on the other screen. They parked close to the fence so we could steal speakers from the other side. Another way to get both movies if you're really cheap. So after that, one of the few I went to was one in Memphis where I seen Love at First Bite and this weird Carrie ripoff called Melissa involving snakes. It was like Carrie, except that she can psychically make snakes pop out your butt and just poop out and just drop anywhere. 1 second there's no snake, next second the snake is French kissing you. That's the kind of girl she is. So, and there was basically my childhood. The last thing I seen at the Twin Air before it closed was Tron in about 84, 85 when it first came out. And I didn't know it then, but that was the end of an era, because one screen closed and they opened a multiplex there where I seen such gems as 1990 The Bronx Warriors, and the other one was just a revival screen which showed whatever film was being re-released that week. And on that note, I'm going to go to my third drive-in ad, which will bring me up into a whole big double feature that played throughout the entire 70s. Hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
Twitch of the Death Nerve, the first motion picture to require face-to-face warning. Every ticket holder must pass through the theater's final warning station. We must warn you face-to-face. Warning. Diabolical, fiendish, savage. Twitch of the Death Nerve. You may not walk away from this one.
It rests on 13 acres of earth, over the very center of hell. Here's the first motion picture to offer to the daring a look into the final, maddening space between life and death. The last house on the left. To avoid fainting, keep repeating. It's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Sights and sounds far beyond anything you've tested. The last house on the left. To avoid fainting, keep repeating. It's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Take as much as you can. Only a movie.
I am dealing with two of the most released together movies of the 70s. Last House on the Left and Twitch of the Death Nerve. They were released almost continuously together as a package by Hallmark Releasing from the 70s until the 80s, with Twitch of the Death Nerve even being retitled Last House on the Left 2. I mean, if you know the two films, you know there's almost nothing in common between them, except that Hallmark owned them, and there's a lot of people killed in them. They were both classics, and it was great double feature, but it was released many, many times with different third features. The House That Screamed, The House That Vanished, with other titles that went with it. The House by the Lake, yeah, that was another one. And it was just shipped out drive-ins. It was almost as bad getting replayed as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which you could find to the drive-in every year from the date it was released until 1985, basically the day after the year of the drive-ins, playing somewhere around the U.S. It was released that much. So, I hope you enjoyed this show. I might do some others. Or I might take a car and drive it 90 miles an hour into a brick wall. Well, until next time, thank you for watching and I hope you enjoy. Bye.